Hey guys, Kev here, and I'm ready to do my full review on the Vero Engineering Synapse XL. So, guys, this is a sad day because this is the last Vero knife product that I need to finish a review on that I have in my possession right now. I do have a mini fulcrum coming that I was able to grab on the last drop in Blackwash, I think. And I do have a Synapse Gen 2 coming, which I was lucky enough to have somebody give up their pre-order or whatever. They ordered it and I bought it from them. So I have those coming. I don't know when that Gen 2 will come. The Fulcrum's in the mail. So I will have more Vero products, but I'm saying it jokingly. It's just, I absolutely have fallen madly in love with Vero Engineering. I just think the products are just so cool and different and interesting. And even though they're basically right-hand biased, it for some reason doesn't bother me at all. And I love them the same. And actually today, Joseph in a live stream announced that he is coming out with a left-handed Axon. So it's going to be the liner lock Axon, just like the one I had. I actually, because I heard that news, I decided to trade it. So I have a Sharp by Design Evo coming with a harpoon blade. Ooh, looks so good. And I figured since there's going to be a lefty Axon, I'm going to have to get one of those. You know, I could kind of justify selling that one or trading that one. So I did that today. So I don't have it anymore. But it'll be just like the Axon you've seen. It'll just be a left-handed frame, liner lock with a left-handed carry clip. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, and I just love their products. And so yeah, I was just kind of joking around, but I am sad that I don't have any more to review. And it, you know, I've been able to carry this. I had this one for like a month, I think. You know, I've been able to carry a lot of his knives lately because I'm reviewing them, but since the review process is over, you know, I'm not going to be able to justify putting it in a pocket as much as I want to. I'm still going to play with it a lot because I have my knife case, you know, right next to my desk. And I did also recently just get the Impulse. This is a second run, full size. I put Gillian bearings in here today. I want to note this. The 1/4 inch 1/16 size bearings from Gillian fit in the Impulse perfectly. The skiff bearings I tried did not fit. Like, they fit in, but they were so snug that they didn't rotate. So they didn't really work. It didn't make the action better. These Gillian bearings, holy cow, it's locked. Like, the Loctite is curing right now, so I don't want to mess with it. I will show it at some point. The pivot is completely tightened down. So no play. I hopefully don't have to worry about the pivot walking because that's been an issue with this knife. I'll get it tuned to where it's centered, very minimal play, and great action. And I'll Loctite it, and it just doesn't want to stay. It's a little strange. He's changed the design of the pivot since then. So I think he knew that he needed to update that a little bit. But these Gillian bearings, man, solid as a rock in terms of play. Crank down the pivot. Not crank, but I tightened it to where it's fully tightened. It's still dead center. Fuck it. And, oh, man, the action is just so buttery. Just incredible. Gillian bearings, guys. You need to check them out. I do want to update. I put this in the description, but I did a video on Gillian bearings. Whenever it'll post, you know, I did it yesterday, but and I noted that the skiff bearings were too large, like I just said about the Impulse. Recently, Skiff changed those 1/4 inch 1/16 bearings and some others, and they changed the overall diameter. So those will fit now, I believe. But I bought mine like a month ago, and they didn't make that change yet. So I just want to mention that. skiff bearings, 1/4 inch, 1/16, should fit that impulse, should fit the Liangma Field Duty EDC just fine now. But always do your own measurements and do whatever. I just buy a bunch of different sizes and I see what fits. It's easier for me that way. I suck at math. So anyway, the Vero Engineering Synapse XL. I got this on a good deal from a friend, Alex. Shout out to Alex. You know, he sold it to me for $400, which basically is table price for these, retail price. This one has the plain titanium with black micarta, and then it has a belt satin blade, this gorgeous drop point blade. And yeah, I'm glad I got it for that price, but I was willing to spend $450, $500 to get one. I really wanted one. This does have skiff bearings in it, so I went ahead. No, Alex actually did that. He put them in there. This one takes the 5mm 1/16 size bearings if you want to get skiffs or Gillian bearings. That's the size you need. This knife is just stupid good. This has probably been my favorite Vero in terms of the fit and finish, action to quality to centering, all that stuff. I think the Mini Impulse is my favorite design because I love the Tanto. But it didn't drop shut the way this one does. And it's currently being worked on by Joseph. And I actually just bought another one from Jake. I bought his that has a hand satin blade. So I'm hoping one of those Mini Impulses will come out perfect. But this just has the best action. I thought it was going to be a little too big for me, right? But it fits my hand very, very well. We can start by going over aesthetics. 10 minutes in, we can start. Yeah, so you have this gorgeous drop point blade right here. Pretty decent stock on that. Not too much or anything, just good stock. By the way, this is number 112 of I don't know how many. I think he said today in a video he made 300 Synapse XLs. So I'm going to go with that. 112 of 300. Great drop point blade into this handle. I just love his lines, like how straight this is right here. Going back through the handle, and then this kind of taper down here, almost Strider-esque in terms of how you land on the back of the blade here in a reverse grip that I never use, but I just want to point it out. It has that kind of Strider feel to it there. And then another straight line down and into this swoop of the handle. And then that goes into the flat choil that I call it. And it's just such a beauty. This knife is absolutely stunning. Yes, I prefer his Tantos just because, my God, look at this thing. Just how clean that is. And I do prefer the Mini just because I feel like the overall shape of it somehow looks better, a little bit smaller, but still. I really would be interested to see him do like a run of this, like this, but with the Tanto blade, right? And then do a run of this with the drop point. So basically you'd have this situation here. So it looked like that, right? And then you'd also have the opposite where it would look like that. That's the one I want right there. With the sweet overlays or inlays on the handles with the Tanto. Let me just see how this looks because I haven't actually done this myself and looked at it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be sick. That's just an easy moneymaker right there. But guys, that's not what Joseph is about, Obviously he wants to make money, but he's about getting his designs out there and doing new stuff, and he doesn't just ride the wave, right? Like he could have made that. He could just literally have made this knife, the Impulse, and just kept pumping it out, and people would keep buying it. People would still be buying this. Like, he has sold, I think somebody told me, I think Jake did the math or something, and he sold like 3,000 knives. Once the isotopes are shipped or something, it'll be 3,000 knives total in about a year and a half, right? He could have made 3,000 impulses, and he probably would have sold out. But that's not what he wants to do. He's interested in making new designs because he wants a new design, right? Like that, he wants to experience it as much as we do. So I just really vibe with that. The whole Vero thing, just the whole aspect of it, I'm totally vibing with and on board with. And it seems like a lot of people are, right? There's a few companies like that that just they just know what they're doing, right? And in the end, you can do all the cool stuff you want, but if your product isn't good, then it's going to fall apart. And these products are absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I just went on another rant. Sorry. Ergonomically, it just fits into my hand perfectly in this grip right here. You can see here, like, my index finger and my middle finger land right here. And then my ring and my pinky finger kind of cradle down here on that flat wrap around the clip, which I don't feel at all. That clip is fine. And then I have the jimping right here, right? Just absolutely feels phenomenal out of the pocket. This is how I grab it, right? Right-handed, it's just as comfortable. Yeah, you have that clip, but I don't feel it like in my palm. The lip on this clip, it just feels different compared to the one on my Axon. It just bit me more, especially left-handed, because I would go to do a Spidey flick left-handed, right? And this is something you don't think of when you're right-handed, right? But if this had a Spidey hole right here for me to flick, a pocket, the way I grab it, my thumb is right on that bend of the clip. And then I have to hold it like that and try to flick. And that thing would dig into the meat, like this joint right here on my thumb. And it was so uncomfortable to Spidey flick that Axon after a while. And that was just something I learned over time. Like, when I did the review, it didn't bother me. Because I think I like relearned how to Spidey flick. I used to always hold the knife like up by the pivot and then flick. But, you know, I learned that it's easier to put it down here, kind of cradle the knife, you know, in a certain way and flick. Anyway, off topic, but ergonomically in this back grip, very, very good. Then, if you want to move up to use this flat choil here, you can. And then, man, it's even more comfortable. The only issue for me with that is left-handed. This little prong on the clip now is basically right in the middle of my ring finger. So I just need to kind of like adjust and scoot my ring finger down a cinch. And then it's absolutely perfect. And then in the right hand grip, I can feel that prong a little bit in the center of my palm. More so than when I'm back here. So I really think it's a matter of your hand size, all of that. It's going to differ which way, you know, how it feels. But this is the most comfortable to me. Back here, like this. Normally I like to do the choke up on his knives, but on this one, this is the most comfortable for me. This blade is absolutely stunning, guys. This belt satin is incredible. I really, really dig it. It does take fingerprints a bit, but those grind lines are just sexy and gorgeous. You have that V spot on the backside of the blade there, so the show side is so clean and gorgeous. I know he kind of calls this the show side, which it's also beautiful, but that, just looking at that is absolutely stunning. I can stare at his knives all day, just sit there like this. A lot of times I carry his knives just because I want to take them out and ogle them. Like, it's weird. Yeah, I'm totally gay for Vero knives. It's just a thing at this point. But yeah, so the cutting on this knife is good. So for what I do, open packages, cut some paper. The thing I use my knives the most for lately is cutting out labels. So I print labels to ship knives all over the place, right? And I usually now take a knife and I'll put the label down on a table and I'll just kind of cut the label out, right? And that's where like a warnie comes in handy so well. Or even a Tanto, I can use that secondary tip. And a drop point is less, useful in that situation because you kind of got to lean, you got to bend it down a little bit to get to it, but it's fine. And this worked very well for that. No issues there. I mean, that's an easy task. I've heard from a few people that these are thick behind the edge. To me, it looks fine. I mean, it probably, I'm not a human caliper, but I'd probably say it's in the low 20s to be safe. But the flat grind is done very, very well. It cuts really well. It does, the reason why I say it's probably a little thicker is because you can feel that resistance. Like when you slice through something, it's hard to explain, but with a really, really thin behind the edge knife, you kind of just go zip. And with a knife with a little bit of meat behind it, it's kind of like a tearing sound. It's still cutting perfectly smooth, but it kind of sounds like it's having a hard time getting through material. That's the best way for me to explain that. And it kind of basically compared to the Mordax I have, because I'm kind of reviewing both right now, and I was doing the same kind of paper cuts with it. And it kind of just compared to the Mordax in terms of the thickness behind the edge. So if you know anything about the Mordax, there you go. So action on this guy, this is the shining feature. Other than the looks, there's so much good here, but the action is just absolutely stupendous. This flipper tab, you can see right there, has that jimping on it. It's a little more rounded off than his earlier designs. I don't know if you can see there. This one's a little more square as opposed to that. I don't know if it's my imagination, but they feel a little different. This has a stonewash blade, so this jimping is a lot more soft. Like it doesn't really grab you that much because of the stonewash blade. This has the belt satin, so it's a little bit rougher, and I like that because I want it to catch my finger, right? And just it shoots out, locks up every time, and the closing action on this knife is probably the best that I've seen. Like the 523 is really good, and that just like guillotine shut. But the way this closes. Oh, it's just so satisfying the way it drops, guillotines on your thumb, and then just such a smooth finish. Absolutely love it. And then the detent just sucks it in. Oh, and I can only imagine if you had carbon fiber or something that it would freaking make some amazing sounds opening and closing. The Gen 2 Synapse that I was able to get somebody's pre-order on or whatever, that is marbled carbon fiber with hand satin blades, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I've really wanted to try one of his carbon fiber knives because so far I've only tried the full titanium Impulse and Mini, and then this with Micarta and the Axon with Micarta. And I'm a guy who really likes sound with their knives, so I think I should have went with carbon fiber whenever I could. But obviously buying secondary, you don't have a choice. And I really wanted the black Micarta because it matched my Axon. So anyway, and I'm happy with it. But the sounds aren't going to be as good with Micarta. But the feel is going to be a lot better than carbon fiber, I would say. This Micarta is so good. This is the best Micarta I've ever handled. The black specifically. It's just so good. Yeah, I love their black micarta. The Axon was the same way. Just perfect, in my opinion. It's a little bit rough, but not much. It has this kind of softness to it, but it's also got a good firm feel. It's just so good. I am rambling here, but left-handed, this knife fires out just the same, has a bolster lock. So unlike on the Impulse, which has a full frame lock there, you don't have to worry about putting any kind of pressure on the lock bar. Now, I will be honest, I haven't really had that issue with the Impulse either, with lock bar pressure, but I want to point it out. Because I always kind of have my finger down here on the Micarta, and that's another good reason to have an inlay like this. You can feel the transition, and you just go for the Micarta. It fires out every time. I think my favorite thing about Joseph's flipper design is that it is very, very, very hard to fail. Even if you had a shit detent, which this does not have, you know, even if you had a shit detent, the way the flipper is designed to pull back like that and how it's vertical like that, like that time I put pressure on the lock bar. It just is so hard to fail. Like, I could try. You guys know I'm a freaking snob about failing knives and detents. Just watch. I'll try to just baby it. It just fired out. Like, no matter what you do, it freaking just shoots out like a rocket. I mean, it's so cool. And I could just watch this thing close all day. I could do this all freaking day. Yeah, it's incredible. It just really is incredible. I don't know if I got something in there or what, because now it's like getting hung up. Huh. Yeah, normally it would just guillotine close. I don't know if I, oh, wow, yeah, there's something in there. What is that? There you go. This is the life, guys. This is what happens when you play with your knife too much. You end up getting a piece of something you ate in there or whatever. There we go. Probably just needs a little bit of KPL. I've been flicking the absolute bejesus out of this thing. Yeah, I mean, it was totally guillotining before, and now all of a sudden it's like playing games with me. You playing games with me, knife? It's not. Like, the lock didn't change. The pivot didn't, you know, all of a sudden get tighter, I'm sure. I don't know if there's something in there. See how it gets stuck right there? I haven't added anything to this knife since I took it apart and did the disassembly. So let's drop put a drop of KPL in there. Put a little bit of heavy on the detent ball. So that'll go into the detent ball path. And then I usually try to give it a little bit of a squirty squirt. Get that KPL moving. There we go. See that? Just need a little love, guys. Sometimes your knife needs a little bit of KPL. That is literally case in point why I love KPL so much. you don't need much. That was just a little squirt, and then I sprayed it through with compressed air. I did that. I always spray it first with compressed air to get anything out of there, because, I had KPL on there probably. It probably dried up or whatever, but just to get anything out of there, and then a couple drops on each side of the bearings. Spray that compressed air lightly in there to kind of get that on the bearings. Then put a little dot of heavy on the detent ball, or regular if you want, and then just kind of work it in a couple times, and then you're usually just solid, good to go. I shouldn't have to take this apart to do that. Yeah, boom shakalaka, baby. All right, so the action, money, the carry. I've heard a lot of complaints about the clip on Vero's. He addressed it today in a live stream where he's changing the clip to kind of go like this, up, and then lip out a little bit at the end. He said it's very similar to the way his fulcrum clip is. So you see the difference here on the clip? This one kind of bends here and then lips up and out. This one bends and then kind of plateaus off at the very end there. It plateaus off. That's what he's doing with all the clips going forward, starting with the isotope. And he's actually having new clips made for the Axon that you can get to replace the one on yours, which is really cool of him. But anyway, I've heard a lot of complaints about the clip in terms of clearance. I didn't even really care about that until I started noticing that thing where it was digging into my thumb. But that's a lefty with the Axon, but a lot of people complain about clearance. So in and out of the pocket, does it catch? And it's so weird. They're all different. The Axon clip was brutal. Like, I had to shove that thing in my pocket, and then do another shove to get it all the way in. That's not really fun, and I don't wear super thick jeans. This Synapse XL has been perfect. Clearance, plenty. It goes right in pocket, right out. It doesn't grab. My mini impulse is in between. And then same with this impulse. It's kind of in between. This being the best. So it's just kind of, it is what it is. But carry is really good on my example. Value. So I paid $400 for these. I believe this was $395 new. Maybe a little more with the belt satin. And they go on the secondary, I'm going to say they average around $450, $500, right? I've seen them go for $550, $575, and then I got mine for table price. I think that's fine. 50 extra bucks, $450, $500, let's call it $100 extra dollars, right? That person paid to ship the knife. They also paid to ship the knife to you. There's $25 right there. Yeah, it's been used, but most Veros are very lightly used because people love them so much. And it's enthusiasts, it's collectors like us that have these. There's not many people out there beating on their Synapse XL. And if you do, more power to you, man. Thank you. I love people who hard to use expensive knives. That's awesome. That teaches me stuff so that I can learn from them what their experiences are, Anyway. So I don't have a problem with it. I pay it, guys. I overpaid for almost all of my Vero products. I was able to get the Fulcrum Mini on a drop. This Fulcrum was actually a gift from my brother, Kyle, DTM Knives and Gear. This I paid $400 for. My first mini impulse, I traded a CKF Satori 2.0 for. That is a $600 knife, which I only paid $480 for. So I paid $480 for that mini impulse. I just bought another one off Jake. I forget what I paid. It was $4 something. Basically, I sold my Richard Rogers OEM slut to pay for that. That's how I did it. I just gave Jake whatever I made off of that. The Axon, I way overpaid. That was a $250 knife, let's say. I paid $450 for it, cash, no trade. So I do it, guys. And it's because I want to experience this. I love the designs. And yeah, I'm a Vero guy. So now whenever there's a drop, I'm going to be ready. And he's making sure there's more and more so people can get in on the drops. And I'll probably be able to grab one. So then I'll pay table price. But for the ones I didn't have yet, I was fine with paying the extra money. And some people aren't, and that's fine. Don't. Wait until a friend has one that's selling one. Or you see one listed for a good price or whatever. But don't bitch about it. Like, it's a cool-ass knife, and there's a high demand for it, and he's making as many as he can to get them in your hand. He wants you to have one, like, you know, and he's not setting the secondary pricing. It just is what it is. So I just hate hearing about that shit. Is this knife worth the $400 to $500 people are paying? Fuck yes. This knife is worth $400 to $500 all day, every day, twice on motherfucking Sunday. Like, I don't need to hear that, but whatever. I'm just rambling at this point, guys. I love this knife. I recommend it to anyone and everyone. If you can get one, get one. Unless you have very small hands and you don't like big knives. Okay, I get it. I'm not a huge knife guy. I have a few, but, and I was like a little apprehensive in the size on this, but I'm so glad I picked it up. It is a bigger knife, but it's so damn good. Like, because it's bigger, it does that. Like, yeah, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I've rambled way too much. I apologize for that. I appreciate you letting me rant and rave as usual. I love you all, and I hope you have a fantastic day. I will catch you later.